Do you ever feel like you are doing everything right to lose weight, but your body's like, LOL, not today, you old hag? Okay, maybe not the old hag part. That one just kind of slipped out. You meal prep weekly, you walk daily, you even gave up wine on Wednesdays, all in the name of weight loss. But your stupid scale, that old hag still won't budge. If any of this sounds familiar, keep watching. Because it's not your effort that's the problem. It's your routine. And for years, I told myself I just needed to try harder or be more disciplined. But trying harder doesn't work when you're running on fumes and no plan. And being more disciplined doesn't work when your whole routine is chaos wrapped in yoga pants. Literally, because that's all I wear. Especially after 40, when your energy's basically running on fumes, your schedule is packed, and your hormones are throwing more shade than the entire cast of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. So in this video, I'll show you how I built a fat loss routine that finally feels easy, without being perfect, getting burnt out, or giving up carbs completely. And let's start with the number one reason women over 40 aren't seeing results. You want to lose fat, feel better in your clothes, and maybe even lift heavier at the gym. But since there's no real plan in place, you're basically hoping sheer willpower will carry you through, which means you're running on a mix of good vibes and half-baked advice from random YouTube shorts. If this sounds familiar, I can tell you right now that good vibes don't pay the rent. And by rent, I mean building muscle and losing fat. Because without some kind of basic framework for your day, the goals you set won't really mean anything. Sure, you say you're going to work out, and you really do have the best intentions to make it to the gym. But what happens to all of those intentions when it's 5 p.m., you are fried from work, and you still have to cook dinner and scrub crusty ground beef off of a pan you left soaking last night? Exactly. One of the best changes I made in my own fat loss routine was I started scheduling my workouts right after rolling out of bed. That left zero time for excuses, plus no time to overthink things, which meant there was no chance of talking myself out of it. And since that's when I have the most energy, I finally started making real progress instead of lifting the same dusty dumbbells on autopilot just to check a box. So if there's a habit you keep saying you want to build, but you just can't seem to be consistent, make that habit the first thing you do every day. And if your schedule isn't as flexible as mine, then at least aim to get it done within the first 8 hours of your day. Because research shows that's when you're most likely to follow through, since that's before decision fatigue kicks in and your couch starts whispering sweet nothings in your ear. But even the perfect routine won't matter if you're still making this next mistake that holds so many women over 40 back. Let me know if this sounds familiar. You are ready to lose weight, so you spend hours researching all of the rules. You stock your fridge with diet-friendly foods, but only after cleaning out your cabinets so you're not tempted by junk. But then you mess up one time and suddenly you're rewriting your entire life plan while swearing that you'll just start fresh on Monday. And if you're like, wait, how does she know all of this about me? She's some kind of fat loss wizard? Well, I mean, kind of. But it's also because I've been there myself more times than I can count. But I finally figured out that the routines that actually help you lose fat, they are never all or nothing. And what actually works is stacking a few 3 to 4 day streaks together, following your plan, followed by sometimes having to give yourself a little grace if you mess up, and then getting right back on track. It's showing up even when you haven't grocery shopped all week and all you want to do is lie on the couch. If you want consistent results, you have to understand that even a consistent plan isn't a perfect one. So the next time you screw up, don't burn it all down and swear Monday is your new beginning. All you have to do is remind yourself that you're human. Life happens and then move on. Because progress isn't always pretty. But showing up good enough still beats waiting until you can be perfect every single time. Still, none of that matters if you're not willing to face this next mistake that's keeping you stuck. I get it. Not everyone is a health nut like me. So when you hear that I lost 50 pounds after 40, it might be tempting to follow my exact routine. At least until you find out that I actually walk 10,000 steps every day and lift heavy dumbbells instead of lifting my feet to watch another episode of Wendy. Aw, I miss her. So now that it's sadly not an option for either of us to watch Wendy, and you still don't love my plan, it might be tempting to copy some other influencer who's pushing their 5 a.m. meal prep, meditate, manifest, spin class routine, and call it your plan. But if your day starts with soul-sucking traffic, toddler tantrums, or crying at your desk because someone ate the Greek yogurt that you plan to have for breakfast, even though your name was very clearly written on top, that routine is about as useful as a thigh gap in perimenopause. Because, sweetie, it just ain't happening. Instead of looking for the perfect morning routine for someone else, you need to start building one that actually fits your life. And a great place to start is with your non-negotiables. If you have to drop off kids by 8 a.m., maybe don't plan your workout for 7. With how much help these kids need in the morning, that's not structure, that's sabotage. But what if you plan something more realistic? Like walking at your desk treadmill during calls. Or you finally admit to yourself that 3 lifts per week is way more realistic than 6, which is still perfectly fine because you'll still get results. In fact, in my experience, you'll actually get better results. Once you start planning your diet around your daily routine, you will be surprised how much time you actually have. At least once you stop pretending to live someone else's life. And while we're on the subject of time, let's take a moment to be honest with ourselves, because we all have 24 hours in a day. And have you ever stopped to think about where all of your time is actually going? Is it really your busy schedule that's holding you back? Or is it the 5 hours a day spent deep diving in the scroll hole? And listen, I love my housewife shows more than anyone, even the ones where not a single housewife on the show is actually married. But do you really need to watch 3 episodes before bed every night? And if you do, can you at least catch up with which housewife slept with whose husband while getting some steps in? Because multitasking is an amazing way to fit all of your habits in. But even the best, most customized routine won't save you if you're not ready to face this next uncomfortable truth. Brace yourself, because you aren't going to like this one. But some things have to go. Maybe it's scrolling TikTok for 45 minutes before bed. Maybe it's not saying yes to every invite that includes breadsticks and cocktails. And while I'm not saying that you have to live like a monk, you can't keep all of your current comforts and expect a completely different outcome. Because fat loss after 40 takes intention. And intention takes space, which means if your schedule is already jam-packed, so you have no time to form the habits that actually matter, then something's gotta go. So what are you willing to trade to make room for the version of yourself that you've been saying that you want? I traded sleeping in late for getting in early steps, which means I also traded having to go to bed early since skimping on sleep after 40 isn't an option. I traded in brunch-worthy pancakes and bagels for a boring but effective protein shake. And I traded in just winging it with some low-carb plan that I struggle to stick to for taking 2 minutes to log and track every meal before eating. If you want to be in the 25% of women over 40 who are actually living in the lean and fit body that they work so hard for, then there are sacrifices you will need to make. Still, none of that sacrifice matters if you don't accept this final truth. When you first start out on your fat loss journey, you'll get plenty of side eyes. Some of your friends or family will push back because you're not following the exact plan that worked for them. You might even feel guilted by your husband because your new habits are taking time away that you could be spending rewatching all 8 seasons of Game of Thrones again. Yes, even that last awful season. Because seriously, Daenerys, you'll get plenty of comments like, why in the world would you wake up at 5:30 on purpose? Or, wait, you're tracking your food again? Aren't you too old to care about your weight? Others will make rude comments, and they won't always get it. But they don't have to, because you're not doing this for them. You're doing this for you. And you know what makes your energy crash. You know what sets off your cravings. And only you know what makes you feel best. You're the one who's putting in the work to figure these things out about yourself. So trust that. Even if your routine feels weird, or make zero sense to someone else. If it works for you, then that's all that matters. Of course, if you haven't quite figured that out yet, then let me help you by showing you the exact routine that helped me drop 50 pounds over 40 in this video. While maybe you can't follow the exact routine I follow, you can still use my routine as the inspiration you need to build your own perfect fat loss routine.